You're watching National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasts, 70 shows, and a 3.5-star rating on Roku TV. Check out nessp.info for direct links and deals on the site Bet Us for 125% off your first three deposits in NFL and college odds for upcoming games, Major League Baseball and NBA futures, and boxing wagers. Also, check out Fanatics sportswear for your favorite teams, and also network merchandise, retro, Northeast Streaming Sports, National Streaming Sports, Big Football, and the Mac and Jack Sports Show t shirts. Coffee mugs are coming soon. Check it out.
You're watching Mac and Jack on National Streaming Sports.
Well, Jack, we made it through another weekend. Both of us were kind of a little bit busy this yesterday, but we kept up with all the scores because, of course, we are the first show up on Roku channel here early in the morning, and we'll be going over all of this weekend sports. And of course, Jack, we got to get to the games, and we'll start with last night's game. Houston gets by Chicago 19-13. CJ Stroud didn't have a great game. He had a very good game, very cool under pressure as always, makes throws when he's on the run, makes throws when he's getting sacked. And Caleb Williams, we talked about yesterday, me and James during the NFL download show, that he had to play better for Cleveland to have even a chance at beating, Houston. Houston ends up sacking him, I think it was 7 times. He threw a couple interceptions. His yardage was better, but he's still got to keep improving. He's got to be able to start throwing touchdowns and moving not making those mistakes. And right now, Jack, he's just too green.
Let him make the mistakes, Mac. He's a rookie. He's learning. The problem is C.J. Stroud was so good last year. We compare all these rookie quarterbacks to him. We want them to be at the caliber of C.J. Stroud right off the bat in the first year. It usually doesn't happen. What I liked yesterday, Caleb Williams gets hit out of bounds. The whole Bear team came to his aid. They rushed over. They're backing that guy up. They know he's young. He's going to make mistakes. He threw a couple of picks yesterday. And he's not going to stretch the field immediately, even though he certainly has the talent to do it. He has the arm strength. He has the mobility. But let him grow. Let him grow, Mac. They got the good weapons around them, and he's going to get better as the year goes along, Caleb Williams. How much better is a question, but he's going to get better. He's going to be a much better quarterback in game 12 than he is as opposed to game 2. But you got to ride him out the whole season. He's their guy. He's their quarterback of the future. There's no turning back on that.
Well, yeah, there's definitely no turning back on that. Do the Bear fans say he has 2 more so weeks? He doesn't throw a touchdown, throws interceptions, or maybe throws 1 touchdown. Do they start regretting getting rid of Justin Fields to let Caleb Williams at least sit a year and go in and get a wide receiver or a defensive player or something else that might help them even more? Are the Bears going to start complaining, Jack?
That's an interesting question I heard no one else pose, Mac. Justin Fields has started both games for the Steelers, and they've won both games. But Justin Fields has just basically managed the game. He hasn't done anything sensational. If Justin Fields threw for 3-4 touchdowns in each game for the Steelers and he looks sensational, maybe the Bear fans would question that. They'd say, maybe we shouldn't have moved on from Justin Fields. But Justin Fields is what he is. He's managing the games for the Steelers, and he hasn't given the Bear fans a reason to say, oh, how can we move on from Justin Fields and draft a quarterback? No, I think the Bear fans are going to be patient. The only way they wouldn't be patient if it was a mini disaster. Look what happened last year with the Panthers, Mac. The number one overall pick in the draft, Bryce Young. He had an awful year, but the Panther fans were willing to run it back with them this season. But of course, now that discontent is starting because of the horrible 2 games the Panthers have played and how poorly Bryce Young has performed, he has a free pass this year, Caleb Williams. Make no mistake about it.
Well, right now, the only quarterback that has thrown for a touchdown out of 3 is Bo Nix. Jaden Daniels hasn't thrown a touchdown yet either. So, I mean, I guess if you're in a rebuilding stage, which see, it's the hype, Jack. The Bears are a playoff contender. The Bears can maybe finish first. Maybe they get in a wild card. All the hype that was built up because they got Caleb Williams, and as I said before, it's expectation versus the real thing. I think that's why people are going to get frustrated. Maybe not all the Bear fans, but I guarantee you by week 4, if they're 0-4, these Bear fans are going to start talking.
Well, they won a game. They're 1-1 now. They won their first game. He performed poorly in the first game, but his defense and special teams, they bailed the Bears out of that game. I don't think so, Mac. I really think he has a free pass, and I think expectations have been tempered in training camp, as far as what Caleb Williams is going to do. I don't think it's going to be a problem this year. Eventually, frustration might set in next season if the Bears personnel is loaded around and continues to be, and he's just not performing. They're going to wonder, is he going to be the quarterback that he was projected to be? And you want a topic of young quarterbacks because you named Bo Nix the 6th quarterbacks drafted, in the first round. And Bo Nix is struggling at Denver. And the question is Sean Payton the right coach from in Denver? Sean Payton had no patience for Russell Wilson, but that's a veteran who's been there a while. And it's like he nearly drafted Bo Nix by default because he was the best college quarterback supposedly available. Sean Payton didn't want to wait a few rounds to take someone like a Spencer Rattler. So he takes Bo Nix, and with Bo Nix, there's going to be tremendous growing pains there.
I agree with that because Denver has lost a lot of. They don't have the weapons like Denver that Chicago has. I don't even think they have the weapons that Washington has, to be honest with you, because they don't have a running game. And if you don't have a running game, the quarterback is out there throwing, 30, 42 times, and maybe that's good and maybe that's bad. We'll find out what happens with that. I want to get to Las Vegas beating Baltimore. Baltimore, a heavy favorite. Minshew has a great game, 30-38 for 276 yards. There was a bunch of field goals for Vegas. Jackson has an interception. The Ravens, Jack, dropped to 0-2. No one saw this coming. In fact, this was a pick, and they call it the death matches, right? Where everybody's taking Baltimore, and they don't think the Raiders have a chance. It just goes to show you that a coach makes a difference. To inspire players makes a difference. This is what Antonio Pierce has there as their head coach. And as you saw, the big wide receiver over there,
Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I was just going to say Adams. He has a great game, and he's older, but he's still got that stuff that a receiver needs. He still can box him out. He's still got great hands, and it looked like he was on a mission against Baltimore yesterday, Jeff.
Yeah, it wasn't logical. The Ravens lost a tough heartbreaker to the Kansas City Chiefs opening game. So, of course, they're going to bounce back at home against the Raiders. But it's the way the Raiders won, coming from behind. Gardner Minshew looking like a starting quarterback, which he's not in the long run. He's going to have some good games. That's why Gardner Minshew it could be a great backup somewhere for a Super Bowl contending team, because if your starter goes down, he can come in and he can win. And he can have games the way he did yesterday, too. And he played a really good game. Kudos to him. But if you think he could keep it up week after week after week, I mean, I doubt it. And the Ravens have some tough questions to ask themselves. Now they're 0-2. It's one thing you lose at Kansas City, a heartbreaker, a tight game, that came down to the last play of the game, where they literally lost the game by an inch with their
Yeah.
receiver, out of bounds. But to lose at home against the Raiders, I don't want to hear that they took the Raiders too lightly. Because when you're 0-1 and you need that first win and you're at home, you can't take anything for granted at that point. And we wonder with Baltimore, they the same team they were last year when they were the best regular season team in the NFL, or at least the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, they did increase the carries for Henry, ended up with 86 yards and a touchdown. They gave him 18. That guy needs to get that ball 20, 25 carries a game so he can wear down that defense at the end of the game. And I don't know why they're not slipping him the ball more. The Ravens have said it's Jackson's offense. He's on the line. He's calling the plays. You better start using that big man more. Let him wear down that defense, because if they could have ran out that clock in the last quarter, Jack, which they could have, if they kept feeding him that ball, they might have won that game. I think it was just a bad decision.
Who knows? But the Ravens have some really good weapons, receiver, tight end, some really good weapons, and they have arguably the greatest running quarterback in the history of the NFL. Arguably,
Yeah, but
when you have that, you don't stymie your offense with a pound and ground the whole
it's
time.
not working, Jack. And I'm telling you, if they did that, they would
Wait.
end
What
up
do you mean it's not? They had the best
They're 0-2. They're
regular
0-2.
season in the NFL so far this year.
They're 0-2. I'm talking about this year. I don't care about last year, Jack. That year's done. I'm talking about this year. Right now, they pick up one of the hardest running backs in the league to help their running game. They don't want Lamar Jackson running with the ball and getting hurt. They want to use him as an option. Right now, whoever's calling the plays, and if they said this is his offense now, that's what I heard. Lamar Jackson.
They didn't lose because of that.
Lamar Jackson is calling the plays at the line of scrimmage. If that's true, he's got to start feeding the ball more to Derrick Henry, Jack. It just makes sense. It makes sense.
I understand. They lost because their defense faltered at the end of the game. Their defense faltered, and the Raiders came from behind.
Yes,
that's
I know.
why they lost. Defensively, it wasn't one of the Ravens' better efforts.
I agree. I just think if they used him more in the fourth quarter, they would have ate up that clock, and maybe. And that interception at the end of the game didn't help either. The Chargers beat the Carolina Panthers. You see in Jim Harbaugh football, Jack. Defense running the ball. Robbins has an unbelievable game for the Chargers. Runs for 131 yards and a touchdown. Herbert only throws for 130 yards, but that's all he had to throw for. That's it. He's turning this around, where Herbert is not their first option and are putting everything on him now. He wants to run that ball, pound that ball, play great defense, and let Herbert be back there and play action, not getting pressured, throwing the ball like he should be throwing the ball.
Well, the question is this: the team they beat, the Carolina Panthers, are they even going to win a game this year? I mean, they are bad, Mac. They look like they might be headed. It looks like they're probably headed at this point, unless there's a drastic turnaround, to having the number one overall choice in the draft. And the calls are going to be for them to draft a quarterback again, because I can't see them moving forward with Bryce Young. I hear the calls already. Some people are thinking, well, maybe sit Bryce Young down for Andy Dalton. I don't think you can do that at this point, because you're committed to Bryce Young. He played last season. He's playing this season. I don't want to hear about the offensive line being bad. With Andy Dalton, you're going nowhere. Andy Dalton's not the future of the team at all. That's safe to say. He can't be a quarterback going forward if you plan to do anything at all. It's got to be Bryce Young. But it's so painful to watch Bryce Young ride this out. And I'm tired of talking about how offensive lines are performing, how poorly this. Most offensive lines have certain issues now and then. And Bryce Young just, hasn't put it together. I was hoping this second season he'd be showing at least marginal improvement, having a new coach, a new training camp. And the other excuse, I don't want to keep hearing about new coaches, new coordinators. A good quarterback makes the adjustment at some point. If you have, let's say, we heard that with Daniel Jones. Oh, he's had 4 coordinators in 5 years. Well, pick one you like. Perform well on the one you like. And that coordinator winds up staying with you.
Yeah. I mean, they had the same problem with the Jets. They were changing head coaches almost every year. And you can't win. You just can't win like that. You can't. You've got to have some kind of stability there. They did the same thing with Fields. They did the same thing with Trubisky. And these young quarterbacks coming in, Jack, they got to have. You see Sam Darnold right now. He's got experience now. But he couldn't succeed in the Jets because they kept changing coaches. And it's something to say. And as we had on as our guests, I'm terrible this morning because I'm beat. But we had our guest on there who came on and used to come on with us for the Giants and that ESPN announcer. And remember, he said, Sam Darnold, keep with Sam Darnold. He'll be okay eventually. Thank you.
I'm not sure that would have happened with the Jets, in all fairness. I was okay with the Jets moving on and drafting a young quarterback at that point. I felt down the line Sam Darnold was going to be a good quarterback at some point. But in all fairness, even though I'm a big Sam Darnold booster when he signed with the Vikings, I said he was going to have a really good year. Watch. And I didn't think they should even draft J.J. McCarthy or any quarterback because they would have had their guy in Sam Darnold. They didn't know. He did go to the Carolina Panthers and was given a chance to start. And the Panthers gave up a number 2, a number 4, and a number 6 draft choice to get Darnold, which shows that teams still thought Darnold had potential. But he didn't get it done with Carolina. But the interesting part is they got Baker Mayfield at the same time. He beat Darnold out then for the starting job. And Baker didn't succeed with Carolina. Is that revealing, Mac, to see that Bryce Young is not succeeding? And if Darnold and Mayfield can be starters elsewhere, but they flop with Carolina, is it the culture with the Panthers? Is it so bad that it's working against Bryce Young? If he was in a different situation, hypothetically, would he be a lot better the way Darnold and Mayfield are?
Well, yeah, of course, because Carolina right now stinks. But they're different coaches. They're different coaches. Not the same coach that was with Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. That's with.
But they're not. The worst thing, Mac, they're not competitive. The Panthers. If they were losing tough games, if they lost 16-10, and then even 27-17, something like that, a couple of games, you're competitive. You're playing hard. You're eventually going to have somewhat of a breakthrough that things could turn around for you. They're getting outclassed in these games. That is the worst thing.
Yeah, remember we've talked about if there was like a college football team that could maybe come up and beat a professional football team, and I said there's no way. I don't know now. Maybe there is. Maybe Carolina Panthers would be in trouble. I don't know, Jack.
I think the University of Texas beats the Carolina Panthers. Texas beats Carolina. I think with Arch Manning quarterbacking, they beat the Panthers.
I don't know if I can argue with that now. I never thought it possible.
Well, let me put it another fun way, Mac. Can you imagine we do it in reverse? Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning can no longer play for Texas, but they can have Bryce Young leave the Panthers and play in college again. Does he get it done? He got it done at Alabama, in all fairness.
Yeah. Dallas gets routed at home by the Saints. Carr throws for 243 yards, 2 touchdowns. Listen, Kamala Harris. Oh my God, I'm way off today, Jack. I am so off. The running back.
Najee Harris. No, Najee. Steelers.
Yes, for the Saints. My God,
Oh, yeah. Alvin
yeah.
Kamara.
There you go, Kamara Harris. he
Ain't
has a
no
great
Harrison,
game.
brother.
He has
We
a
leave
great
it.
game. He throws He runs for 4 touchdowns. The Saints defense just. I mean, Dak Prescott did not have a good game. They couldn't run the ball. The Saints just beat him in every facet of the game, Jack.
You know, every now and then you have a team that's a major surprise team. They've been around a while. You know, the same players have been on the same team and they somehow have a breakthrough. You kind of wonder, could the Saints be that team? Could the Saints be a lot better than we think they are? But again, it goes back to something that Keith Angle said when he, doing this show. The early weeks of the NFL is so unpredictable. And it's something you've said as well. They're not playing their starters much or at all.
Nope.
And it's like these first few games, they're like playing themselves into shape, basically. And the games count. The games are important. Early season games are just as important as late regular season games. But they're not really as ready as they should be. But some teams are more ready than the others, and they can take advantage of things. I mean,
I agree with you.
You take the Chiefs, they won their first 2 games, but they were playing their starters more than the other teams. They were ready, to win a couple of tight games the way they did, even though they got a bit lucky yesterday.
Sure. Another surprise, Tampa Bay goes into Detroit, big underdogs, beats Detroit 20-16. Baker Mayfield throws for 185 yards, runs for a touchdown, throws for a touchdown. I mean, had a great run at the end of the game there. Goff threw for 307 yards, but for 2 interceptions, Jack. You don't think Goff is a great quarterback by any means. Listen, I mean, if he's going to perform like that in big games, again, we're early, but if he's going to perform like that in playoff contention teams, Detroit may not be as good as we think they are, Jack.
No, Mac, let me make it clear, Goff. He's a starting caliber quarterback. He shouldn't be a backup. He's a starting caliber quarterback. I'm not knocking him. He's just not one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. Off the top of my head, if I look down the rosters, and had to rate all the quarterbacks, which I've never done specifically, I would guess he would fall in there something like 14th, 15th, which is, okay. I'm fine with the Lions having him as their franchise quarterback, but I don't look at him as being a difference maker. You look at Josh Allen, that's a difference maker. Joe Burrow, a difference maker. You expect these guys to be the difference makers. Jared Goff, I expect to be a very good game manager. It's just fine. You put the weapons, you put the team around them. That's all you need to win. At this stage of his career, Aaron Rodgers might not be anything more than a very good game manager with all his experience. And that's fine if you put the right team around them. And once in a while, these type of quarterbacks have a big game and make a difference maker. But Dan Campbell was very mad and very emotional. He's saying he cost his team the game because he had 2 units on the team at once at the end of the game and at the end of the first half, and time ran out. There was a 10-second runoff where they couldn't kick at the field goal that they were supposed to, and it was a mental mistake, poor coaching at that moment, and he took accountability, for that. And Tampa Bay, they always slip under the radar. Even a buddy of mine who's a season ticket holder for the Buccaneers, we're talking before the first game. He says, "Yeah, we'll be about 8-9 this year, maybe 9-8. We're just very average." They're 2-0, and everyone was talking Lions to the Super Bowl. This is their year, and they're home against Tampa Bay. And this might be a reality check.
Maybe a wake-up call, right? Sometimes you need that.
Wake-up call is a better term.
Green Bay gets by the Colts. Malik efficient, 12 or 14 for a touchdown. Josh Jacobs with a monster game, 151 yards, Jack. I'm telling you, the rushing is back in the NFL. Richardson throws 3 interceptions. Taylor with 103 yards in a loss. Green Bay's defense steps up, and they're going to need every facet of their team to step up. They're going to have to run the ball. Their defense is going to have to play a lot better than it did in the past, and their special teams are going to have to play really good to keep them afloat. So far, first game without Love, they did it, Jack.
Yeah, so far Green Bay hasn't been hurt by the Love injury. He got injured at the end of the game one against the Eagles. They were losing that game anyway. And had he been in this, they won this game. So they haven't lost the game yet because Love is out. It's a matter of time before he'll be back. He might be back next week or the week after. The injury isn't that devastating. They played it perfectly, the Packers. Malik Willis has only been with them 3 weeks. You know, he hasn't had a full training camp. Josh Jacobs ran the ball very effectively. Malik Willis didn't have to take many chances. He just had to very gently manage the game, and he did it. He played mistake-free, basically, and their defense came up big, the Packers. If you're the Colts, you have to be a little disappointed. You know, you kind of want this as Anthony Richardson's second year as the QB. I know he was hurt part of the year last year, but you want a little more out of him, a little more, because they invested in Anthony Richardson. He's their guy. And how good he'll ultimately be, we don't know yet. We know he has a ton of talent, but this was a game for the Colts to win. If you can't go on the road and beat the Packers with Jordan Love out, I mean, what can you expect against other teams, you know, who have their starting quarterbacks in?
You know, quarterbacks with big arms, can throw the ball off their back foot 60 yards. They try to squeeze balls in areas that they shouldn't. They think their arm can do it and fit it in there instead of, you know, throwing somewhere else, reading somewhere else, trying to make big plays when they don't have to. And I think that happened with Richardson yesterday. I've seen it with Jeff George. I've seen it with a lot of guys with big arms, even to Brett Favre, where they shouldn't throw the ball and they do, and it gets intercepted. So I think he's got to learn to check down more and not try to fit the ball and try to win the game on one throw. I think if he does that, then maybe he starts getting better. In other words, be a complete quarterback, Jack. Don't just try to throw the ball 100 miles an hour into coverage. You can't do that.
Well, Matt, I mean, you're basically correct. I, for the most part, agree with what you're saying. But quarterbacks are what they are. We argued about this with Lamar Jackson. You can't inhibit them. You can't change their game. It's part of their personality. Like a Josh Allen plays with a reckless abandon. You do want them to go down before they get hit.
Right.
Yeah, but if a quarterback likes to run, it's in his nature to take off. It's in its nature to try to make big plays. You maybe have to allow him. Look, 2 of the great NFL quarterbacks, Joe Namath and Brett Favre, made their share mistakes. Okay? I mean, I don't think you can get hung up too much on turning the ball over, on interceptions. I think if you get to be too careful, the offense really doesn't function. Now, at the end of the game, in certain situations, you have to be very careful not to turn it over. But otherwise, just allow the quarterback to be himself. And that's Anthony Richardson. You got to allow him to try to be a big play quarterback, but also at the same time to cut down on mistakes.
It's all the situation, Jack, right? I mean, if it's the end of the game and you've got to go for it, I get it. If it's during a drive where if you get this into the end zone, if you march the team down the field, you got to be smarter. That's all I'm saying. And, you know, even with Brett Favre being what he was still a smart veteran. And even with Joe Namath, to a point, if this is a drive that you need to get a touchdown, you don't throw the ball into tight coverage. Yeah, you'd rather run the ball. I mean, if that's what you do, run with the ball. Whatever you got to do, do not make that throw. And that's something he's going to learn as the years go on. So I'm not knocking him down. I'm just saying he's got to be smarter during the game, and they got to teach him to be smarter as a coach. You got to do that. Cleveland beats Jacksonville. Jack, Trevor Lawrence. I don't know what to say about him anymore. I mean, listen, Watson's getting booed going on the field by the Cleveland fans because of all this stuff going around him. He does okay. He throws for 186 yards, nothing fantastic. But Jacksonville is supposed to be a wild card, at least team contender. You gotta at home with Cleveland coming in with all this stuff swirling around Cleveland. I know they got a good defense. They got to win this game, Jack. This is some of the games that you got to win early for later. Because if they don't win these games early down the road, and I know they have a problem coming from behind in the beginning, but these games are going to cost them.
Oh, yeah, you're 100% correct. And that's Trevor Lawrence's fourth year. His rookie year, he was okay, nothing special at all. Okay. His second year, he was just a little bit better than his first year. And in his third year, he was just a little bit better than his second year, but not close to being the generational type quarterback that he was projected to be coming out of the draft. This is bad, these first couple of games. He's not even showing that tiny bit of improvement. Even if he just shows he's a tiny bit better than he was the first 3 years, okay. They signed him to the big deal. So he's their quarterback of the future. Not that they would want to get rid of him. He's not being a difference maker at all. And you're right, Cleveland comes in staggering, into their Jacksonville, and they don't take advantage of it. And Deshaun Watson is, at best, he was so-so yesterday, at best.
Yeah.
And the Cleveland defense that showed us nothing against Dallas game one. They rebounded. They played a really good game. But it's a very winnable game for Jacksonville. And they're now 0-2. And the Jaguars, we were thinking, oh, that's a young team on the way up. It's only a matter of time before the Jags, are in the Super Bowl. But they're like sliding backwards now. And Trevor Lawrence, who should be leading the charge, shown he's a franchise quarterback, when all is said and done, might just be an average guy.
Yeah. We're going to, I think by mid-season, we're going to have a better read on where Trevor Lawrence is here. If he doesn't improve, Jack, he's their franchise quarterback.
They have him. They're going to make the best. They're not even going to consider another quarterback.
Is it Peterson? Is it their
what?
Is it the head coach?
Doug Peterson. And Doug Peterson, it's funny we mentioned Brett Favre. He was Brett Favre's backup with the Packers, the backup quarterback, to connect the dots. And he's supposed to be somewhat of a quarterback guru.
Right.
To help quarterbacks improve. It didn't always work out that way. When Doug Peterson was at Philadelphia, when Carson Wentz slumped badly, he didn't really quite straighten him out. Okay, there. And I don't want to say Doug Peterson's going to be, he's not on the hot seat right now. No one's calling for him to be fired. But at the end of the year, if the Jags, let's say, are 7-10, they're 0-2 right now, big disappointment. I mean, there's something missing there in Jacksonville on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, they've, all in all, they've played well in these two games.
They have. They really have. And, who's speaking of playing well, Minnesota's off to a 2-0 start. Darnold throws for a couple touchdowns, 1 interception. Justin Jefferson, 4 receptions for 133 yards. A lot of that was on one play. What a catch and what a run afterwards. Purdy throws for 319 yards in the loss with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. San Francisco just looked out of sorts yesterday, Jack. I mean, I think they thought they had this game. I think San Francisco took Minnesota lightly. And the Vikings put a lot of pressure on Purdy the whole game. Their running game wasn't as good as it was against the Jets. And, I think the huge pickup from Minnesota, of course, is Aaron Jones. That gives them a chance to do play action with Darnold, which really helps them out. Setting up, I mean, you saw from the end zone, he fakes it to Aaron Jones. It freezes people. They think he's running. Jefferson's wide open on the middle of the field, Jack. I think that was just a bigger pickup as Sam Darnold was Aaron Jones.
No, I wouldn't get that far. Sam Darnold, it's been a lifesaver so far for them. I don't think I realized how good Sam Darnold was going to be. No, misunderstand me. I'm not saying he's one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. He certainly is. And I'm saying he's a starting caliber NFL quarterback. Sam Darnold could be a team's franchise quarterback going forward. And I'm not comparing him to the Josh Allen. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying you can win with Sam Darnold
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you have the right team around him. He's better. He's better than the Justin Fields to me, clearly. If I had to make, because Sam Darnold can throw the football and
Yeah,
throw
but
it very well.
Justin
Sam
Fields,
Darnold's
Justin,
primarily a
wait,
passing
wait, wait,
quarterback.
wait, wait. Justin Fields does not have Justin Jefferson and Addison and Aaron Jones. I mean, let's be honest, Jack. Sam Darnold has some nice weapons, and Justin Fields just doesn't have it, Pittsburgh. So I think it's a terrible comparison.
Well, he has Najee Harris there. He has Pickens in Pittsburgh. He has quality on the offensive side of the ball.
No, I don't.
Okay, but the point is the Vikings. Kevin O'Connell yesterday, when they interviewed him after the game, he got very emotional talking about Sam Darnold because he's really touched how hard Sam Darnold's been working to learn to do this, to do that. And Sam Darnold, this is his 7th year. He's ready. He's arrived. He's carried the clip. He's played. He's carried the clipboard all the last year with the Niners. So if he was starting over, he was like a rookie last year in that system, learning. And he went against his old team. J.J. McCarthy's going to be back next year. Sam Darnold's contract, he signed a 1-year contract for $10 million. It expires at the end of the year. Hypothetically, Mac, I don't know what the answer is. If Sam Darnold takes the Vikings on a deep playoff run, let's say Sam Darnold is excellent all season, excellent, and everyone loves him in the Viking organization. All the guys, his offensive players like Justin Jefferson, they love Sam Darnold. The chemistry is great. What do you do at the end of the year? I mean,
you sign him for.
But if you sign him, what do you do with the J.J. McCarthy situation? You keep him as a backup.
Yeah. Just because he's sitting there learning doesn't mean he's playing. Doesn't mean he's practicing. He's not practicing. So I mean, he's not really. The only thing he's doing is watching. And if he was practicing this year, you might have a conundrum at the end of the season. Sam Darnold does a great job for the Minnesota Vikings. J.J. McCarthy sits another year.
But if someone's going to step forward and give Sam Darnold a 3-year contract, another team, we're signing you for 3 years, and Darnold goes back to the Vikings, can the Vikings really, if they sign Sam Darnold for 3 years, wow, that's like telling J.J. McCarthy, you're going to be on the bench the next 2-3 years, if not longer. Sam's our franchise quarterback. I think it's a little different. Yeah.
I don't know, Jack, if it'd be this franchise quarterback. To me, you're in a position like with, and I'm not going to even compare Sam Darnold to Brett Favre and J.J. McCarthy to Aaron
Maybe
Rodgers.
Baker Mayfield's a better comparison.
Maybe so. And I think, listen, you at least sign him to a 2-year contract. And if he doesn't work out, you still got J.J. McCarthy there. If he proves himself, there's no reason to get rid of Sam Darnold. I wouldn't.
I'm going to say that. I'm going to say this though. You need backup quarterbacks are the most underrated position in the NFL. It can destroy a team. I would invest heavily in a backup quarterback. You pay him even if you don't use him. It's like having an insurance policy.
I agree.
When people aren't using the insurance policy, you hope you never have to use it. But 100%. If you do, it bails you out.
100% agree with that. New England. Listen, it's a push if you're a betting. It went to overtime. Geno Smith had a great game with his wide receivers. The Patriots do what the Patriots do. They run the ball. They play conservative. Field goal blocked by Seattle near the end of the game, or maybe New England escapes there with a victory. But they ended up losing in overtime, 23-20. Jack, good game by the Patriots. Listen, they're gritty. They're a hard team. They're going to win. Maybe I'm changing my. Maybe they win more than 4 games. Maybe they win 6 games this year.
We're going to know a little more Thursday night. Perhaps they play the Jets. They come to play the Jets at the Meadowlands. And if the Jets win decisively, it sends a message that New England's probably going to be what we thought they were.
Yep, definitely.
But if they beat the Jets, wow, that means New England is probably truly going to be, I don't want to say a factor all season long, but they're going to be making life uncomfortable for everyone that they're going to be playing. And
Listen,
it's
I,
2 games. Seattle traveled, across the country. How good is Seattle? It's still a question mark, even though they beat Denver in their opening game. And they're gritty.
so, yeah.
When is Drake May going to play? Eventually, we're going to hear the calls. But so far, the New England fans aren't getting restless because they won one game. They were extremely competitive yesterday. But at some point, the Drake May, chance or watch or whatever is going to come a little more into play.
Maybe so. I talked to Keith, and Keith doesn't really think so. Keith says the Patriots are resolved this year to Brissett being the starting quarterback. I don't know. That's somebody who follows the Patriots a lot. I'm with Keith.
Whoa. Keith is the same guy. When I said last year Belichick had a bad year with his job, could be in danger, Keith dismissed it. No,
yes,
Belichick.
He said he retired
Let's move on.
But I'm still gonna go with Keith with this. I think, listen, they're gonna let Drake May sit back and learn. There's no reason to rush him.
Wasn't Keith Engel the guy that picked Notre Dame to win the national championship this year?
He is also the guy that said Will Levis is going to be a good quarterback. Remember that? He was going to be the best
quarterback. Let's have a trash Keith Engel segment each week, a 5-minute segment.
And yesterday,
1 round, 3 minutes. We call it the 1 round Keith Engel. Call him out on things.
Yes. Listen, Levis had made another boneheaded play against the Jets. He's fallen down. And this is the second week in a row. The coach was visibly upset, called him stupid at the end of the game. It's a stupid decision.
No, I think he said it was a stupid play. I don't think he called a play a stupid. There's a difference. There's a difference between saying it's a stupid play. That bothers me. I've said that to people. What a dumb thing you did. Like, I get an argument with a friend of mine, and then later they come back, they'd be mad at me. They'd be insulted saying I call them dumb. I never call them dumb. I said they did a dumb thing. There's a difference.
But there's also a saying, stupid is as stupid does, Jack. So anyway, Aaron Rodgers has a good game.
Said about me, by the way. I've distinguished it when it's been said about me.
He throws for 176 yards, 2 touchdowns, all with 62 yards. Your number 0. The rookie running back, Jack. I mean, listen, it's good to have 2 backs. And Allen showed yesterday that he's up to the task to get there and share the ball with Breece Hall.
Yeah, he's from Wisconsin, and he idolized Aaron Rodgers growing up. So to him, it was a big deal to hook up with Aaron Rodgers there. That was one of the few NFL games that went according to form. It was predictable. It was going to be a tough game. Hung in. The Jets won. It's a great feeling. They had to win this game. Imagine if they lost and they were 0-2. You know what the talk would be this morning, Mac? Is Robert Saleh's job in danger? Yeah. That would be the talk. And these owners, for the most part, they don't like to fire coaches for the most part. But public pressure does get to the owners. It wears on them. They get tired of it. And this was big for Robert Saleh. Jets got to win Thursday. They're at home against New England. If you're going to go to the playoffs, you got to win these games against a New England Patriot team that's very beatable. So imagine if the Jets win, if they win Thursday, as I think they probably will, then all of a sudden they're now 2-1. They're feeling good. They're under a little less pressure. Even if you lose a game 4, you're 2-2. A lot of teams are that way. But they were on the right track if they win Thursday. They kind of righted the ship from game 1. They played a lot better. Let's be honest about it. It's a big difference when you're going against the Will Levis running, a Tennessee offense as opposed to Brock Purdy the week before with the Niners.
Definitely agree with that. The Giants, that was one of my picks, Jack. I thought that, with a broken arm and a broken neck, for some reason, Daniel Jones plays big against the Commanders. He had a good game. He threw for a couple touchdowns. Singletary ran for almost 100 yards. But the Giants' defense has given up a lot of big running plays. They did it against Washington's Robinson runs for 133 yards. No kicker as he got hurt. We talked about it before the show. Trying to run down a player. He gets hurt. He was hurt to begin with. Giants didn't have a kicker to come in and replace him. They missed the first extra point, and that was it. They started going for the 2-point conversions. Jesus. They dropped a couple.
Well, Ganal being hurt, their kicker, arguably cost them the game in a sense. It may have cost them the game. But, Washington was pesky. 7 field goals.
Yes.
I mean, the Giant defense didn't break. All in all, the Giant defense did a good job. And in this modern NFL, if a team is going to even score 3 points on every possession, the law of averages say, you should be able to beat them. I mean, 21 points for Washington. And maybe the Giant defense could have done a little better keeping them out of range. But again, with Ganal being out, Giants found a way to lose. Bad teams find a way to lose. And it was a winnable game for the Giants. You tell me, Mac, what can the Giants take positively out of this game? You can't blame Daniel Jones this week.
Right.
And you can't because Singletary had a solid game running the ball. I can take out of this week that Malik
Neighbors showed while he was the first round pick, and that Daniel Jones and Neighbors are starting to hook up. I can take that from today's game, and maybe because I think they got Cleveland next, which the Browns aren't right now. They're not a train out of control. Over that. If they do beat Cleveland next week, I think a lot of Giant fans are going to say, well, let's see what happens. But they would have to beat Cleveland, and we'll see if that happens.
Wow. Well, if Deshaun Watson plays a great game, could you imagine he throws for 4 touchdown passes and torches the Giants? It's going to be
Could happen. I told you in the beginning of the year, Jack, I didn't know what to think of the Giants. I kind of knew if they went 6-10, I was happy. That's my goal, and that's still my goal. Going 6-10. Now maybe that's not good for DeBall, and maybe that's not good for Shine. But after last year, with Jones getting hurt, and with the Giants, kind of turning out at the end of the year, I thought maybe they had something going. But of course, that didn't happen. They got a young.
It was a winnable game, Mac. There's nothing I take out of it.
It wasn't.
We know Malik Neighbors was good. We know how good he is. It's not like he was a pleasant.
He finally. Well, let's put it this way. He finally showed, because the week before it didn't happen. This week it did. So we'll see what happens next week, Jack. That's all I can do. That's all I can. What am I going to say? I mean. Maybe if we played the Tennessee Titans, we would have won. I don't know. Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
It's conceivably. I mean, yeah. Okay.
Big win for Arizona. I said in the beginning here, I think this is a sneaky team. Kyler Murray has a perfect rating. Their running back, just ran all over them, all over the Los Angeles Rams. Cooper Kupp gets hurt. Hoopa didn't play. The Rams just looked out of sorts. I don't think they saw this coming. I don't think they thought Arizona was going to run on them like they did, and that Kyler Murray was going to throw on them like they did. They just weren't ready for the Arizona Cardinals at all.
And Marvin Harrison caught a couple of touchdown passes for Arizona. You knew he was going to have a good week because he only caught 1 pass in his debut the week before. And that was big. That was big news. Only one.
Wait a minute. Malik Neighbors only had 1 catch last year. I said last week, and I said it was a great game.
Malik Neighbors had a few catches in the first game.
And you said, we know he's good, but now James Harrison gets a couple touchdowns, and now you're celebrating that. You just went
Marvin Harrison. No. What I'm saying is this. No. In Malik Neighbors' first game with the Giants, he did catch a few passes. The whole Giant offense was out of sync, and it wasn't Malik Neighbors' fault. The game against the Vikings. So it wasn't a question of Malik Neighbors having to rebound. It was a question of Daniel Jones having to get the ball to him a little more. It wasn't on Malik Neighbors. Okay. With Arizona in week 1, they lost a tight game. And Marvin Harrison wasn't really utilized quite correctly. And, it was big
Agreed.
talk. Marvin
Agreed.
Harrison, the touted, wide receiver from Ohio State, one catch. Like, what the heck is going on here? So you knew Kyler Murray was going to target him more. You knew he wasn't going to come out of week 2 with only one catch, anything
Right.
like that. You kind of knew what the deal was going to be, and it
I'm just
happened.
giving you a hard
The Rams, it might be a long year for the Rams with all these injuries. You don't want the
might be.
season getting away from them early.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Kansas City squeaks by Cincinnati. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, Jamar Chase has been a problem since the beginning of the season. He might have cost the Bengals the game, going after the referee, arguing with him, going after him again, arguing with him, and the Cincinnati Bengals getting that 15-yard penalty, which took him out of field goal range and the whole 9 yards. Jamar Chase has got to learn to shut his mouth, has got to stop being a distraction, stop thinking about himself. Even Joe Burrows was ticked at him, and he pushed him back. I mean, listen, dude, Jamar, just shut up and sit down on the sideline. I don't care about your penalties and your feelings and all. Just shut up and just play football.
Joe Burrow was Jamar Chase's college quarterback at LSU as well, and with the Bengals, they've been together quite a long time. But what cost the I'll get back to Jamar Chase in a second, but what cost the Bengals the game, they had stopped the Chiefs on the final play, supposedly, or the Chiefs, towards the end of the game, 4th down, and like 16, 18, incomplete pass by Kansas City, but it was pass interference. It gave the Chiefs a first down, and they put them in field goal range where they could kick a long field goal and win at the end. If it wasn't for the pass interference, and was a legitimate call, the pass interference, it's debatable whether it was a catchable ball or not. It's somewhat debatable. So they blew the game. So the Chiefs got lucky. The Bengals kind of blew it at the end. As far as Jamar Chase goes, the referee said he knows what he said to me. Jamar Chase probably said the most vulgar things. The referee didn't want to repeat it. And I'm sure Jamar Chase doesn't want anyone to hear what he said. But you can't have that. It's one thing you commit a physical penalty, you're guarding a guy, you maybe bump him early. You hate to see that happen. I'm not saying that's excusable, but it's understandable. But to use foul language and take your team out of field goal range because you're venting anger. Let me ask you, Mac, might this indirectly have anything to do with Jamar Chase's frustration? He doesn't have a contract. He's playing for low money. The other wide receivers like Jalen Waddle, with 2 years left on his deal before he could get franchised in Miami, got a big deal. And the Bengals haven't come to an agreement with Jamar Chase yet. And he's playing and getting, low money for a rookie, basically.
I don't care. That's business. You're on the field. You're affecting the team. If that's the type of person you are, I wouldn't want you around on my team anymore. If you're going to cost a team a game, which I think he did, pass interference happens, Jack. It's a judgment call. The guy did have the ball in his hands when he got hit. It's a judgment call, though. I mean, you could say he got there a little early, and you could also say, well, listen, he was going up, and the timing wasn't that bad. It's so hard to call, and it's so hard to overturn once it's called. I just think this is an error, unforced error, like in tennis, where Jamar Chase decides because he didn't get his way or he's in a personal battle with the defensive back here that all of a sudden he's going to go after the ref, not once, but twice, because they didn't do nothing after he went after him once.
They don't want to go. They don't want to throw a flag. He put them in a position where they have.
Of course not, Jack.
But Jamar Chase is a team guy. No. His actions were terrible. He hurt the team. No, he hurt the team, but he has a history of being a team guy. Let's get that clear. He's not a prima. He's not normally he hasn't been one of these prima donna wide receivers. We got to be fair to him. He has been a team guy.
I'm saying, and that's a certain situation, he was thinking of himself and not the team. That's all. And he might have cost the game. And it's a shame. Because the Cincinnati Bengals should have won that game, but they didn't. So there you go. Anyway, real quick, because I want to review tonight's game. Yes, Houston beats. I think we talked about that
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
So let's push on to tonight. Philadelphia, Atlanta, Philadelphia. Jack, I believe Kirk Cousins is hurt. He's playing hurt. He's in the shotgun. He's not under center right now. They're trying to get the ball to him faster so he doesn't have to drop back. I've never seen Kirk Cousins play in the shotgun so much as he did last week. I think that affected his game also, and I think they're crazy. They're crazy if he is hurt to start him against the Eagles. Me, if he's hurt, I'm putting the rookie in. I'm letting Penix Jr. play and see what he does, and I'm going to let Kirk Cousins rest. He's your franchise quarterback for these next 2 years. And if he legitimately is hurt, and if you watch the game, he didn't look like Kirk Cousins, and he was taking shotgun snaps, which he never does. I put Penix Jr. in against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, Penix himself has an injury history in college.
Yes.
He has a big-time injury history himself. And is Penix really ready
I
to
wouldn't
go
care.
against the Eagles? I mean, he's a rookie. He's been getting most of his reps with the second team. They're committed to Cousins. Look, Mac, franchise quarterbacks play hurt all the time.
I agree.
You don't sit them out unless they're truly injured and it's too much a risk for them to take the field. And if Cousins is only hurting, but he can play, how do you not play him? I mean, it's the second game of the season. You were paying him big money the next couple of years. If this was the middle of the second season of his contract, I can understand you're transitioning to Penix, but it's too early for that.
I think if he plays against, and Philadelphia doesn't have a bunch of schmucks on defense, and he gets hit really good, Penix is going to go in anyway. He's going in anyway. I really think he's hurt, Jack. I really do. I think he's really hurt, and I think it. Listen, Penix is a little younger. He's a little bit more mobile than Cousins is. And if you're going to take a chance on starting your quarterback that you think is going to bring you deep into the playoffs, and he gets hurt right now, Penix is going in anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, if Cousins is out, but it's too early to make the move. Cousins is coming off the Achilles injury last year. I don't know if that's any type of a factor, but Atlanta's 0-1. Surprisingly, they lost their first game, last week. They could be falling to 0-2 in that division. The Saints are 2-0. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 2-0. If the Falcons lose today, they were the consensus pick to win that division. Imagine that. They're 0-2. And they have, the Saints and the Buccaneers both sitting at both on top at 2-0. They're immediately in the hole, 2 games behind after only 2 games.
Yeah. Listen, again, a lot of people say it doesn't matter early in the year, but when you're in a division where you've got 3 teams that could possibly win that, you being one of them, maybe it's not that early in the year, Jack. Maybe this is going to decide the records.
I know we're pretty much coming to the end, but we keep saying in the NFL, it's early in the year. There'll be 15 games to play after, beginning next weekend's games. They'll have 15 games. Wait, Mac. But if this were Major League Baseball and you're 2 games out with 15 games left to play in the season, it's definitely doable. But you can't say we have plenty of time anymore. You're 2 games out, 15 to play. You better make the gap up now. There's an urgency all of a sudden.
Yeah, the coaches always look at the first 4 games, Jack. Where are you at the end of the first 4 games? If you're 0-4, history is you're not going to make it. If you're 1-3, you're probably not going to make it. If you're 2-2, you still got a good chance. So by game 4, we're going to find out what teams are going to make the playoffs. That's what the history says. So we'll see has the best chance. So, Jack, good job today. We'll be back Wednesday live tonight, Jack and Frank Laterzo on Glove Fist, 7 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube, and also, of course, on our Roku channel. And Coffee and Sports is right back on after us here on the Roku channel. Have a great Monday, folks. Thanks.